bit across down here. And then, depending on how you guys defended,
Right,
so
so that's
that was
where the
either
bridge-
up to Arnhem or
bridge is there.
across to here.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
here, I'll
do
put
you-
it, here, take
what's
the
a
picture. I'll put it on top, just where the bridge was going to be.
quick little video?
That's where I was going to throw the next one over.
All right. And it's turn
13.
Turn 13. Right, and so, I mean, this is probably last another turn, right?
Yeah, this was at least another turn or two to fight through this, I think. And I think where you were going to start dying up here is if the Americans could pinch it off, you've got nowhere to retreat to.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's more if you just get pinned in.
Well, and that's what I was getting ready to do, was kind of,
Yeah.
sail this way and.
The thin red line
Yeah.
in the British prison camp, unfortunately, but Brady did a great job of holding out. It really bled the Germans down. I
Yeah.
think.
Took a lot of step losses.
Yeah,
Up there.
So,
The two blown Arnhem bridges, in case you don't know, for historical reference.
So you still think in
3 more turns?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 moves across the Arnhem into Arnhem with an
Yeah,
airborne
take a
unit?
picture of this whole area. That's
So could we get a supplied airborne unit into Arnhem in 5 turns? I think we can get to the river in 5 turns. I don't know that we can get a supplied airborne unit across it.
you just have to get across, you don't have to build a bridge across.
We has to, yeah. He has to,
No, it has to be in supply.
he has to be.
Right, but you can
has to be
trace
traced.
It has to be traced.
five spaces, even through prohibited terrain.
I'm pretty sure you'll find it has to be
Yeah, it's
supposed
supposed to be trace over any terrain.
any terrain. So,
Yeah.
so bridge can run bridge otherwise.
Yeah, it says,
It's got to. It's
Well,
got to
following
be
a
a
path
rail.
of 5 hexes or less through any terrain type, including prohibited, but not through unnegated ezox, to a road of either type that leads back to entry gate.
what are you looking at? You're not looking at the victory conditions.
No, that's the. That's not the.
That's
victory.
what supplied
But
is.
that no. Read the victory conditions. It's different.
Must establish 30 core supply trays from Area A across the NATO range so that airborne units in the city of Arnhem can use it for trace supply and
Use
last
it.
hour
Use it for
supply.
trace. Right.
Yeah. So that means they could throw it across the river.
Yeah.
All you
have
there's
to
no
do is-
zones of control.
You just
Right.
use a,
So you guys
Yeah,
basically have
I'm
to
not
keep
sure.
us from
Yeah.
getting up against the river near Arnhem.
right, because there's a rail bridge and a ferry, and you can
Sure.
use an engineer to throw ferries. So.
Yeah, I think it's 50-50. You could actually do it.
You gotta have
in
an
turns,
airborne
but-
unit in on it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'd have to get one of these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not.
I mean,
I don't know.
I mean, it seems, ending it here, it seems rather drawish to me, but I'm not an expert.
Yeah, I think it's 50-50 at this
Yeah, I
point.
think so.
Yeah. Well, so what do we think? What do we? I know it's
Fascinating game. I really like it.
My first monster ever, really happy.
very cool.
I mean, I think we could play it again, and we played a
Yeah,
lot
great.
faster and a lot differently.
Yeah,
If we
very
play it
differently.
again, I think we need at least 5 players. It could handle a couple more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the German player, we should have split it earlier with him, as opposed to having Cisco try and fight like the chess game up here and control all this down to here.
Right.
Yeah, I think
it
the
just-
southern German player actually starts at the Rhine. Really, and the northern
Yeah.
German player is.
And I think the German player absolutely has to like bide his time enormously over here and then choose depending on what goes on. Just be patient and wait for that turn 14, 15, 16 to hit the hammer.
Do show my glorious screaming eagles and how great.
Oh, the scattered screaming eagles. What do you think, Cisco? You haven't said anything. What's your viewpoint?
I would also.
Oh, I like this game. This bridge, this is kind of important. After you beat your way to the bridge, if you grab the bridge and you have to duck across here, you have 2 avenues of approach.
Yeah.
And you might be able to force your way across one of the ferries down there.
There's a nice choke point here.
So if you have 3
Yeah.
avenues of approach, I'd be spread out. You
Yeah.
may be able to get into Arnhem.
Yeah, I think that's why it was key that when he started driving on Nijmegen.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to force.
Yeah, and I must admit, the 2 turns ago, we just finished eating and we're trying to get going, and I perfunctorily withdrew everybody and went, okay,
Yeah.
let's get going. I probably should have done a better job of.
Just make sure no one snuck around.
Yeah, that was poor
I mean, to
play.
get up here, you're going to have to disrupt people, overrun, do everything right to get.
Well, I think this bridge fails to get built. That means all 10 air units go straight into here.
Yeah,
And I think those 10 air units plus we put all the artillery into there, I guarantee you we could destroy those guys in Nijmegen in this turn. Now, whether the bridge is still standing when we try and move across it, different story.
Sure.
But I think this turn, firepower-wise, would have destroyed those guys in that city.
Yeah, so really it's 4 turns when you think about it that you have. And that's kind of makes it a different story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Makes
mean,
a much closer call.
Because I think this bridge failing to get in means that bridge, no matter what, moves up
Yeah.
to be ready to throw one across Nijmegen.
How do you do your trace thing?
It's 5 hexes to a
So you
road
just-
that leads off
Yeah.
to A.
and it can be 5 hexes.
Right, so you just call this, you just pop this and then just do trace across.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think both sides could benefit from a map recon before the game begins.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Hey, just take some of those bingo chits that we had, and for your side, just mark a couple key spots that you need to keep an eye on.
I was interested how my position requires you to kind of change what hat you're wearing after 34 passes you by.
Sure.
You know, it becomes a totally different game actually.
Yeah.
You know, for the American player. That's interesting.
All right, well, I think it was.
Yeah, and I think where you block the roads of the Allies, you have to block them literally on the 34 boundary. You can't sit back in the town, I don't think, because that lets them get too close to the road to start.
Very, yeah.
You got to block
True,
them literally
true.
because that got us, I think, up here, where it let them come down this road, even though we were blocking it here. They get down to here and they all cut in on us. And I didn't think about that until later.
Yeah.
So I think literally where the road crosses the boundary, you plunk a 34 unit right down on there.
Yeah, I have to admit, by that time I wasn't looking, I was so fatigued, I wasn't really looking that closely.
I think you really need to, 101st, that their job is the screening, right, and then with the reaction force with the Commonwealth armor that gets allocated to them, and they kind of deal with the
I mean, short of
incursions, right?
Yeah, I mean, and short of grabbing these bridges, which is mission number 1, I think second priority is shut down this.
Yeah, the entry points here.
Because once
yeah.
you've shut down B, if the British can just kill or attrit these guys down here, you've gained this whole flank that you don't have to secure.
Yeah, then it's C and D, and it makes C useless.
Yeah.
Because if you've got all you need is a very small number of units to lock that up, and C becomes pointless.
Because you got to think, even with because these 2 companies you had, or 3 or 4 companies that you had down here for a while survived, that kept 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 companies on the line. We had 2 armored companies that were in here, so there's 10 companies, and then that recon unit is down here. So basically 2 battalions worth of people tied up on garrison duty, which was, would have been much better to use them up here.
Sure.
So I think that's probably something key for the Germans is to just keep a force in being, kind of like the old World War I fleet. Just keep a German force somewhere that's outside of the 16 range, so maybe up in here.
Right.
And they just force the Allies to man all these choke points. And we probably waited too long. I think we could have emptied out this whole side too. Because once the 101st got Helmand, it basically closed off the German ability short of 1 entry place. So once L went dormant.
Yeah. Well, L, you can come in over here. I was
But they could be
thinking you
blocked
guys were
easily.
going to try and push some of the 101st in the armor and come up this way. I was expecting you to make this huge, big end run. That would have been an interesting move. That would have pulled a lot of forces away from beating up on the 82nd.
I think smarter move for us would have been, you've got, this is way too much just to be sitting here. These guys could have, 1 company sits on each of these, and then we choke up in through here, and I think that ends up releasing another 6 to 8 companies that should have been down the road.
Right.
So I think we lost an entire brigade on garrison duty that we could have prevented from being on garrison duty.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe you're right.
Well, I know we all got to roll, so